We've got an exciting set of samples here today from the brand Carine Roitfeld. This, of course, is the eponymous perfume line by Carine Roitfeld, who is the former editor of French Vogue, overall style icon, I believe former model as well. I first became aware of her if you watched my Dior video in my sort of formative years coming into fashion and fragrance. I was really a big fan of Eddie Slimane, the way he changed menswear at Dior Homme with the skinny suit and the rocker chic look. And Carine Roitfeld is a big part of that image in my mind. She was always seen at shows in the kind of skinny drain pipe black suit, looking very chic and cool. She's still going today at 70 years old, still looking very cool and always well dressed. So I was excited to see what her set of fragrances smelled like, and early reviews that I've seen already made them sound like they were going to be really good. And I was excited to see that Lucky Scent got them in stock and they offered a set of samples, which I ordered. Unfortunately, it's missing a few from the line, but we'll get to that as we go. What ended up being my favorite was a surprise to me. It wasn't what I thought would be my favorite. So see if you can guess as we go along which one was my favorite. And at the end, we'll talk about it. So I'll kind of go in general order of how I wore them. I gave each of these a try on skin, gave them a full day wear. And I started with Georges. So this collection is called Seven Lovers. They're not all literal lovers. I wonder if there's something awkward lost in translation here. But they're men in her life, men she respects. One is a son, one is a filmmaker. It's a little bit of sort of a French romantic idea. I think it's kind of cute. Some people think it's maybe a little cringy or cheesy. The only problem really is if someone asks, "What are you wearing?" and you say, "George." It's a little bit funny. But I started with this because I received the set on a very hot, muggy, nasty day in New York City, and this one looked like the most fitting for that kind of weather. It's a green fragrance. It contains cannabis, it says, Iranian galbanum, violet leaf, jasmine, rose iris, oak moss, notes of wood, earth, and leather. I'll read a little bit of the description from Carine's website. It says, electrified and inspired by accords of galbanum, the delicate green and floral notes of violet, and utterly exceptional leaf absolute, and so on. And this is perfumed by Yann Vasnier. So, what do we get? I always feel a little scared when the first thing I try is really good because I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I don't have a ton of new fragrances to add to my want list. And that's how I felt when I first sprayed this. If you've watched my other videos, I'm a big fan of green fragrances. It might be my favorite genre. I love a good galbanum. Bel Respiro is one of my favorite all-time fragrances. So the opening of this, fantastic. I'm almost getting chills again. I haven't smelled it in a couple weeks since that one time I wore it. Really good, big, bright, green galbanum. Does remind a little bit of Bel Respiro, but I'd say more going on. Bel Respiro is a little bit more innocent in a way, whereas this feels a little more heady. Another one it reminds me quite a lot of is Must de Cartier. I bought the Parfum of that last year about. The biggest difference is no vanilla in this. Must de Cartier really, I think vanilla is the star of the dry down, whereas here it's more of a kind of typical vintage leaning mossy dry down. So my ultimate conclusion after wearing this for the day was that I didn't need it because of that sort of vintage mossy dry down. I felt like I'm kind of good with the few fragrances I already have in that genre, and sort of a vintagey smell and mossy smell is not really my favorite, not my wheelhouse. While I can appreciate it, I don't need a whole bunch of fragrances that go that direction. But I must say the opening is sort of winning me over again. That galbanum and floral mixture, it's cool. You can already smell sort of the spiciness coming up from the base of the oak moss. Maybe there's a touch of patchouli in there as well. But yeah, just very classic sort of green chypre fragrance. If I had a criticism of a few of these, it's that they're maybe a little too classic, but I think they do a great job of capturing the sort of French chic that Carine herself represents. And they all smell extremely high quality, really nice smelling materials, no ugly synthetics sort of sitting at the base. But maybe it just doesn't bring too much new to to the genre, except that it's a extremely well done example of the genre. So that's Georges. Let's see, I can't really remember what I wore next, but let's pick Sebastian. And I forget actually what this one's about. So let's spray it and see. So this one, it says, is about, oh yeah, Immortelle and Tuberose, lightened by an aquaflora captive, merged with soft notes of sandalwood at its base. A magnificent creamy natural vanilla seals the romance. Okay, so yeah, ooh yeah. They're all really nice, especially the openings. You get that sort of, again, classic French perfume of just like a swirl of ingredients, always something floral, always something a little bit earthy in the base, always something aromatic, like a very well structured, like a classically structured couture garment or tailored suit, like has these certain elements that are always in place. So yeah, what's really interesting is the Immortelle in this really stands out. I recently talked about Les Indomptables Immortelle fragrance, which is very nice, but to me it's really a solely note kind of fragrance. I'm sure there's many other things to create that sense of a singular material. But here you get a whole bunch. It's borderline challenging depending on how you feel about Immortelle, but this one I found really, really interesting, really nice. Again, there's something a little bit vintage, or maybe we should just say classic leaning about it. The perfumer for this is Pascal Gaurin, and notes, as I said, just Immortelle, tuberose, sandalwood, vanilla. Yeah, the vanilla comes out. It's a very warming mixture. A little bit of the spicy Immortelle. It's hard to describe because it smells like Immortelle. And if you haven't smelled Immortelle already, there's not too many references. People often cite coffee. There's a vague bit of that. There's almost like a little bit of a camphoraceous freshness as well at the top. Definitely more of a fall winter perfume, one I'll have to try again in cooler weather. But very nice. I think if I'm to buy one more Immortelle, the Immortelle from, gosh, now I'm blanking on the brand's name, but the one started by the Goutal daughter is still maybe slightly higher on my list just because I really like the patchouli. I find this one maybe more interesting, but potentially a hard wear. Maybe it's just the vanilla, the amber, things that remind me of the color like orange and brown earth tones have never really been my vibe aesthetically or scent wise. And I feel like this very much has that sort of like dusky, ambery, brown, orange glow to the smell. Okay, so that's Sebastian. Next up, Vladimir. This was a big surprise. And I have to say, not in a good way. This is meant to be the iris. The notes say iris, incense, amber, grapefruit, bergamot, sage, cedar, geranium. A story of contrasts, finding its inspiration in Carine's Slavic roots. So this is named after her son. Vladimir is the name of Carine's son. The contrasting ingredients of iris, incense, amber blow hot and cold, express rigor and fluidity. So I thought, well, that sounds fantastic, incense and iris. But for some reason, to me, this, I really hate that. It smells like a designer blue fragrance. It kind of, so I haven't smelled it in a long time, so forgive me if my reference is completely off, but it kind of smells like the new abomination that is Francis Kurkdjian's Dior Homme Parfum. So indeed a little bit of iris, but just like an overwhelming blue, ozonic, kind of designery deodorant spray freshness. It of course is better done than that. And actually after thinking about it, I was like, maybe it's meant to lean youthful. It's named after her son. I feel like these kinds of fragrances are aimed at younger people. But to me, whatever else is going on, I just really can't get over that sort of blue shower gel freshness that dominates the fragrance. I will say, if you like that scent profile, but you want an elevated version of it, this could be fantastic for you, because it definitely is elevated because it has, again, sort of like, I'm getting florals. I don't get anything obviously irisy or incensey. To me, I would be lying if I said there's maybe a dryness of the incense But I think if you just put this up to my nose, I would just say maybe like designer shower gel cheapy. So I don't know what's going on with that. Perfumer, Pascal Gorin. So not at all for me, but maybe it's for someone. Maybe it's for Vladimir. All right. Well, while we're on the family, we've got Carine herself. As the strains of gypsy music float in the air, her gaze reveals the sensual intimacy of the words she murmurs in his ear. A scent of patchouli lingers, expressing all the passion of this enigmatic Parisian fantasy. Jeepers. So this is patchouli, vetiver, cashmere and white amber, pink pepper, jasmine, gardenia, and rose. This is weird. I thought I tried this, but it's not ringing a bell. So patchouli, indeed, there's a freshness. It's a little bit fresh. Maybe that's the pink pepper. I may have forgotten to wear this one because I thought I did, but it's actually, the smell is not ringing a bell. It's sort of a fresh-ish patchouli. I like it. A little bit of floral. Yeah, a little bit of almost like a fresh, watery floral, adding to the freshness. We'll revisit that, let it dry down a little bit. I think I may have gotten confused with the next one, Forgive Me and Carine, because those were two later releases that aren't on the Lovers theme. I think maybe I wore Forgive Me and didn't wear Carine yet, thinking I had when I wore Forgive Me. So we'll just move on to Forgive Me. This one comes in a purple bottle. The rest are kind of a greenish hue. And this one I've definitely worn because there's quite a bit missing from the vial here. And this says, wearing Forgive Me is like revealing the other woman who is in you. Ooh, like seeing yourself differently in the mirror. A fragrance expressing feelings of duality, passion, irresistible attraction. So the perfumer of this is the inimitable Dominique Robion, and it includes tangerine, pink pepper, orange blossom, tuberose, ylang ylang, gardenia, patchouli. So this one, yeah, big floral, again, like very classic floral patchouli kind of fragrance. Beautiful, heady florals. And this one brought back another sort of deep-seated memory. I took French all through high school and college. And in my high school, I went on a French sort of class trip to Paris. Thus the French textbook before you. And one of our stops was Fragonard to see the perfumery. I was maybe 16, so the memories are very vague. But I bought a fragrance, which I still have. And this reminds me a lot of that. Another fun fact, I didn't realize I was into fragrance at the time. But we all thought it was funny that the nose was called Le Nez. And my nickname for the rest of the trip was Le Nez. So how about that for foreshadowing? This only bubbled up in my memory recently, this early connection to fragrance. So again, very classic to my nose. Very beautiful flowers. Again, it's got a little bit of that like camphoric, eucalyptus-y type freshness that you can get from tuberose, but just a pinch. I think it's just elevating it so it's not too deep and dark and heady. Yeah, I'm not sure. It reminds me of other sort of classic, but very beautiful, well done kind of French perfumes, but exactly which one other than that Fragonard memory, I couldn't tell you. And last up, we've got Kar-Wai, named, of course, after the filmmaker Wong Kar-Wai. And this says, Addiction of the Senses, a perfume offering the forceful contrast of violence and sensuality. The exploration of another continent. A smoked Longjing tea combined with the modern leather notes of natural osmanthus conjures an invitation to dangerous romantic games. Vetiver creates imperceptible fluidity. So it's tea, smoked tea, osmanthus, vetiver, bergamot, cardamom, rose, jasmine, musk, and it says Saffiano, which I believe is like a particular captive leather. Saffiano is a particular type of leather used for bags. So yeah, this is what it says. It's a smoky tea with sort of a sort of modern leathery base. I'll say it's got a little bit, this is the only one that has a little bit of that sort of modern amber woods. It reminds me a little bit of the slightly, well, not slightly in this case, but synthetic dry down of Monsieur, which does not bother me. I am a fan of Monsieur, but it's got a little bit of that like edge to it, that edginess that none of the others have. But I really like the way it combines, as this has a duality, this contrast of osmanthus, which often has a leathery facet, but also a fruity facet, with tea, but also with smoke and that sort of like heavy, slightly bitter, dry aroma chemical. I'm guessing it's coming from that Saffiano chemical here, or maybe there's some kind of patchouli or like patchouli, something derived from patchouli here in the base. So I think that's all I can say about that. So have you guessed my favorite? It's a surprise to me. My favorite is Kar-Wai because I think it's the most unique. It's the most unlike anything else I have. I like the idea of a tea fragrance, but I realize more and more I don't really like tea fragrances. Most of them on skin kind of bore me. I tried again the other day, the Guerlain Neroli Outre Noir. I really dislike that fragrance. I know a lot of people like it, and hearing someone else rave about it made me want to visit it. I just don't like it. It's just such a limp, boring, sort of floral, nice tea. It's like has no spine or backbone or interest to me. So I was surprised because this is one in the reviews I watched, nobody really talked about or seemed all that enthusiastic about. I assumed my favorite would be the Ropion, forgive me. But in the end, it smelled a little bit dated and a little bit like something I've smelled too many other times before and not really something I want to smell like. Let's see, Kar-Wai is done again by Pascal Guérin, so several done by him. My second favorite is the Immortelle one, is Sebastian. Yeah, I think it's getting less challenging as it's like that swirl of notes at the beginning are starting to sort of coalesce into a single smell. Sort of like the chaos of the opening is like coming into focus now. Forgive Me is beautiful, no doubt, but yeah, just something a little bit classic and just reminding me of some kind of classic feminine perfumes I've smelled in the past. Carine I'll have to actually wear. It's a little bit meh right now, sort of like a fresh-ish patchouli. Again, very classic. I'm actually surprised because although Carine is maybe like very iconically French, her style is edgy. It's dark, often dark eyeliner, slim black suits or black dresses. So I expected maybe a little bit less classicism here. And I think that's why I like Kar-Wai, because it's the one to me that updates, does something interesting. There's a Givenchy that mixes osmanthus and leather. I think it's called Le Garçon Manqué. And I think a lot of people hate that fragrance, but I kind of like it. I have like a mini I got from a friend. And maybe it's the experience of that prepared me for the experience of this. But I remember the dry down the next day was really, really nice. Again, kind of had a similar smell as the late dry down of Monsieur by Frederic Malle. But I really like the addition of the osmanthus adding contrast and freshness. So if I buy one right now, I'm leaning towards Kar-Wai. And it's kind of dry, even though it's smoky and woody, it also feels kind of dry enough. It's not syrupy or goopy that it could be worn in hot weather or cold weather. So that's Kar-Wai. We'll go back through a little bit each one. This, yeah, Vladimir again. I hate you. I don't hate you, Vladimir. I don't know you, but I hate the scent. Georges, beautiful. It's so similar to me to Musty Cartier. That's the only thing. If I'd never smelled Musty Cartier in my life, this would have been like instant add to cart. But I have Musty Cartier. Forgive Me. Yeah. I'm not gonna repeat myself. Sebastian, interesting. Carine, yeah, there's a freshness still hanging on with Carine. It's like maybe a properly dosed bit of blue something, giving some elevation and freshness that's overdose in Vladimir. So those are my thoughts. Unfortunately, the set did not include Aurélien, which is one I really want to try because it is an orange blossom, and this one has pretty good reviews. So I'll see if I can get my hands on that one day. But these have been the Carine Roitfeld fragrances that I've tried.